I've been shrunken down to the size of a tiny bug and have to survive against insects that want to eat me. What's even worse is that I'll need to encounter dangerous insect bosses on land and sea, whilst uncovering the plans of an evil organization. Will I be able to solve the mysteries of the backyard or be lost forever? Here's what happened during my 100 days in Grounded. I climb out of a suitcase and find myself surrounded by giant roots and foliage. Massive ants are crawling around but show little interest in me. I start to explore the area and grab a few tiny pebbles, sprigs, and mushrooms. I pass by a weevil and discover a little tent. I read a report about a safety test performed by Dr. Wendell Tully, who tested some kind of machine and mentions something called an embiggening cell. I pick up some granola bars and study the research diagrams in the tent. This says if you have rock, plank, plant, and smaller rock, you can crush a person, and then you can make a microscope from their body parts and do science on that, and then suddenly there's an idea, but graph paper takes your idea away. Beautiful. I analyze my materials to get some crafting recipes and also to enhance my brain power. This will give me access to higher level crafts. I build a simple axe and use it to chop up some dried grass. Chopping down grass lets me reach dewdrops, supplying me with clean water. Ah, get down! You're not Mr. President, but get down, I want my dew. Delicious. I climb onto some kind of machine and explore its circuits. Ooga booga smash glow button. Oh, or push it. Pushing its buttons activates 3 pylons that seem to receive power from somewhere further away. I leave to figure out what's weakening one of the energy beams. Out of nowhere, I get attacked by a lawn mite. Wow! Holy, that thing jumps! Jump me. Jump me. Smack through it. After fighting a few more mites, I find more mites eating into a cable. Stop numbing the wire! It's not Yumsies! Never Yumsies! I follow the damaged cable underground and craft a torch to light up the cave. There's more mites down here eating at the cable, so I quickly get rid of them. I start up the machine again, this time with all the lasers functional, but it causes an explosion in the distance. For now, I craft a tiny shelter and spend the night with the little protection it provides. Wait, is this gonna accelerate my hunger and thirst? Oh, yes it is! Cerny food! I run into a ladybug and ride it for a while. It's a waifu bug. It has a lot of health. Can I ride you? Oh yeah, I'm riding the waifu bug. I then get really thirsty and have to drink dirty water to survive. Maybe the penalty for bad water's not that bad? It makes me sick, but soon after, I find a dripping juice box, then build a little base near it. I keep exploring the area until I find sleeping wolf spiders under a tree. Spiders. I got a feeling that we are gonna get numbed if I go in there. So we should probably not go in there. I'm leaving. I go around them, and to my surprise, there's some kind of miniature lab underground there. It looks like this might be the source of the explosion. I find another research analyzer near a lava lamp-like machine. With a few more recipes, I craft a pebblet hammer. Then I study more of those science-y diagrams. Person with red chest button becomes small person with chest button removed and above head, and they get Wi-Fi. That's how you create Wi-Fi. I've discovered the lore of the game. They shrunk people to create Wi-Fi. I loot a storage room to fill my pockets with precious sap and water. Can I please live next to this thing, please? Can I please live next? Can I live inside it? Can I borrow you? Can I adopt you? Can I own you? Can you be mine? I help a robot called Burgle back on his feet, and he immediately figures out that I was shrunk by Dr. Tully's device. Why is your hand a spatula? Did you work at the Krusty Krab? He tells me that an explosion caused all the raw science to vanish. I also learned that the shrinking must have caused my memory loss. To learn more, I'll have to aid the robot assistant and repair the platform called Spacer to grow back to my old size. Once his memory is restored with golden super chips, Burgle will be able to provide me with the needed crafting recipes. Most locations are missing from his memories, but he's able to remember the Hedge Lab and points me there. Afterwards, I get encouraged to register at the ASL to receive some quests. I listen to logs from Dr. Tully, and they explain that raw science is a byproduct of the shrinking process. I keep exploring the lab and find the ASL, where I can choose quests and buy data chips with raw science. In a cave, I find some big white blob, but my tools can't break it. Uh-oh, bad music playing.
Whoa, it's a giant.
It is? Look, I was just jumping side to side. That's so cute. It's like, oh! Oh my gosh, they jump. What are you doing, step ant? Uh-oh. Oh! No, no, no. Oh my gosh, they can jump. Holy, they can jump. Holy, they can jump. Holy, they can jump. Holy, they can jump. They can jump. They can jump. They can jump. I then stop by an analyzer to scan even more of my materials. A gas mask. Whoa, interesting. We're gonna have to deal with gases? I crawl out of the lab and return to the backyard surface. While I'm looking for some materials, I get attacked by a junior orb weaver. Holy oh my gosh! I got wasted by an orb weaver junior! It wasn't even an orb weaver! It was an orb weaver junior! My stuff! Where's my stuff? My stuff.
I didn't lose all my stuff.
That's right. We didn't lose any of it. I explore the tree area to find a nice place to settle down. Orb weaver. Bro, I got unalived by an orb weaver junior. That's a big orb weaver. After seeing how big the orb weaver was, I decided to smash some spider eggs. Smash the egg! Slice the egg! Destroy the egg! Yes!
It's a little baby spider.
Oh! No. Ah! Run! Okay, they didn't like that. They didn't like parkour. Haha, I'm parkouring on a leaf. Maybe let's not tick off the spiders again. Back at the main lab's entrance, I start building my base. I chop down a bunch of grass for the materials, then build a roasting spit to barbecue some aphid meat. Oh no, I feel so evil. Look at it. It was such a cutie. By now I've impaled him. I'm rotating him around the spicy. With a nice cooked meal in my belly, I collect the materials for the workbench. Using some ropes, I build armor and an eye patch. Drink or die. Oh my gosh, drink. I analyze more materials, then climb back to my base to spend the night. I craft some spears and make an acorn shovel. With my new spear, I unalive some of the bugs outside for their parts. I find the entrance to an ant hive and start exploring it. To my surprise, the ants don't seem to care until I run into a soldier ant. Whoa, blow the damage! I'm out. Let me out! I'm sorry. I'm leaving. Ow. I managed to return to base and build a water container and storage chest, which will need some acorn shells to construct. I sleep till morning and smash the needed acorns. With my containers built, I leave to explore. I smash some aphids to make a pair of shoes that helps me run faster. After hunting a few more bugs, I stock up on food. I drink some clean water in the lab and research materials to get a recipe for a red ant club. I leave right away to hunt some red ants for their parts. I managed to dig up a grub on my hunt and start farming them for their hide. With this, I can build a canteen to carry some water with me. I then go hunt some weevils. With the weevils that I hunted, I can now craft a shield. I try it out on some ants and find that it's not too bad. Afterwards, I go into the ant tunnel again and find some quartzite. I then take on aggressive soldier ants and defeat them with my spears. Red ants are aware of your presence. What does that mean? They seem chill. Yeah, I think we're cool. Now that I have the ant mandibles, I can go make the ant club at base. On my way back, I run into a huge stink bug. I finish the club and prepare some food. I then add a smithing and smoothie station to my base. I don't mean to be that guy, chat, but I'm kind of curious what I would get if I squish a ladybug. Should I squish the ladybug? Oh my god! You do not mess with the ladybug. I go back to grab my lost backpack, and with my smithing station completed, I'm now able to improve my weapons, while the smoothie station lets me make some more food recipes. I end the night and sleep in my shelter. The next day, I wake up to a spider crawling around under my base. Oh my gosh. I may have made a mistake. I may have made a grave mistake putting my base here. I head out to collect water and hunt some bugs for smoothies. Squish goes the aphid. I store some of my items and make 2 more canteens. I venture further out and find a cracked wall that might break with some explosives. In the distance, I discover a bombardier beetle and have to run from a stink bug's attacks. Despite the hostile bugs, I managed to construct a trail marker for one of Burgle's quests. Afterwards, a bombardier beetle attacks me. Nice fart. Holy! Okay, you know what? Let's not do that. I changed my mind. I'm getting out of here. I find some berries in the area and smash them up for materials. Climbing up some roots and a paperclip leads me to another field station where I can scan my new materials. Here, I also find another voice log. Dr. Tully mentions that his children damaged the hedge lab while playing and allowed some spiders to invade the facility. His plan is to reactivate some defensive bots called Tasty for protection. Nearby, robots called Rusty attacked me. Whoa, robots? But I'm Hummin. You cannot hurt Hummin. Wow, get wrecked. I didn't think it'd be that easy. There's also a machine called Mixer nearby, and I try to initiate its overdrive. This makes nearby bugs swarm me and the Mixer, and I quickly get knocked out by their attacks. I've made a grave mistake! I made a grave mistake! I go back to collect my stuff and find the mixer now broken. Wait, is that dead or sleeping? Sleeping! Ah! Run, 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 run. What a majestic movement animation. Run! Bro! Holy crap! I get my stuff back, then decide to attack another larva. It's a poop. It's a poop. Oh! He didn't like the poop! He's like, Draggy, I poop you back. Do you like my poop? No, I don't. AI exploit, AI exploit. Oh my gosh! No! I literally cannot land the final hits on these things. Yes! Take it in the butt. These things freaking lunge across the map, dude. Did you have any reason to strafe to the left? Damn, 3 bites! It's supposed to be 2 bites! When did it become 3? They're evolving in real time! Evolution didn't happen because of 100 million years. It just happened because of me! After finishing off that larva, I head to a research tent to buy meat shield, which increases my max health. Where is grub? Grub, 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 grub. Dig up grubs. Double trouble. 2 for the price of 1. I didn't even bring a 2-for-1 coupon. Red ants are annoyed by you. Why? I'm not annoying. Back at base, I use my new materials to make some berry leather and a larva blade. Then I construct a spinning wheel and let it tie some ropes for me overnight. The next day, I go and get some red ant parts to build the grinder. When I get back with the materials, I try out the grinder and make some slurries. I analyze some new materials, then head out to challenge a ladybug. Oh my gosh. Wait, did I parry? The game has a parry mechanic, I didn't know. Oh my gosh! I return, this time with my club, and manage to stun it and then finally unalive it. I head back to base and run into a spider. Oh! No, 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 I don't have a car, so I don't have a car extended warranty. You don't need to tell me about it. You don't need to call me about it. I'm cool. No, make the job. Okay. Yeah, leave the grass, leave the grass. I don't like grass. Grass is for vegans. I'm not a vegan. Go up. I then quickly go to sleep. In the morning, I leave to collect more food, then analyze my ladybug materials for recipes. I find a sprinkler not too far away with lots of fresh water. I hunt some of the gnats that fly around in this area. I lure more of them down with spoiled meat, then hurl my spears at them. Joe! I hate Joe the gnat. Nobody likes you, Joe. I go back to analyze the gnat materials, then the gnat meat, and build another chest for more storage space. The next morning, I place down a sap catcher but need some weed stems to finish it. I craft a bow and head out to collect the stems. No! Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, they shoot web at you at range. I find some weed stems but get stopped by a stink bug. I just want the weed! I just want the weed! Why are you doing this to me? I just want the weed! Eventually, I carry the weed stems home and finish the sap catcher with spiders hissing. No, I just want the weed! I then leave the safety of my base again to hunt more ladybugs. Smacking them with my ant club until they're stunned proves to be an effective strategy. I get better at parrying their charged attacks with every attempt and proceed to collect their materials without much difficulty. I prowl through the high grass until I reach the berry bushes again and use my spears to snipe the berries to collect their precious berry skins. Back at base, I start spinning some silken rope, then craft some pieces of the ladybug armor using the berry leather. The next morning, I head back to the bushes to collect even more berries but run into a larva, then get interrupted by a bombardier beetle. I fight bravely for a while, but the bombardier beetle starts angering a lot of the nearby bugs with his savage attacks. Kill it, mate! Kill it, I'm rooting for you! This is a David and Goliath scene. Okay, David is dead. Goliath wins. Okay, David 2 will win. I believe in you, David 2. Okay, David 2 is also dead. Goliath wins. That's the AoE squirt. Watch out. You have angered the ladybug. Yes. Oh, the ladybug does so much damage. Beat him. Beat him. Yay. 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 Yeah. Get him. Get him. We just got Goliath 2. Oh, the hip check. That's what I like to say. But then Goliath retaliates with a squirt. You need to stop standing in the bed. Yay. How hurt are you? No mercy for the damaged ladybug, though. I slay it too and collect the materials of both contenders. I peacefully smash more berries, but get chased off by a hissing orb weaver spider several times. Back at base, I craft the last piece of the ladybug armor, analyze the new bombardier beetle materials, then craft a pallet to have a place to store weed stems. I leave to look for a ladybug head and fight some larvae on my way. Parrying more of their attacks unlocks the Parry Master mutation. This mutation gives me an extreme advantage when blocking attacks. Not too far away, I find and hunt a ladybug, but this time I lose the battle. Why did you use me to attack mission! It was just like, brrr. And I was like, oh. I returned to collect my backpack, then get my revenge, and also managed to get the missing ladybug head. I used it to craft an upgraded axe. Then I decided to challenge the wolf spiders near my base. Now, it's very important that we only wake up one of these and not both of these. Well, goodbye to that spear. Sir, one of my spears happens to have misplaced itself near you. If you don't... Oh, is that a 4-hit combo? Oh, I'm so scared. It's so big. Can I stop getting stuck on every... Oh my gosh. I postponed my efforts to beat the wolf spiders for now and go chop some weeds for stems. Oh, that scared me. I didn't realize my thing was that close to breaking. Jeez, it was so loud. I used the stems to build a dew collector first, then a cookery. Before I head out to fight more bombardier beetles, I upgrade my armor. I fight the beetles with my shield and axe and slowly gather their materials. I reach the bird bath and find a mosquito nearby. Parrying its attack stuns it to the ground, and after exchanging blows for a time, I win the fight. I climb a stick to find a somewhat hidden cave with a little shelter inside. What the heck? Why are there a bunch of ant heads on pikes here? Bro, that's creepy. Really just sending a message to any ants that come in here, huh? There's a rotten ant club here and also a recipe for ant totems. I discover a journal here left behind by an intern called B. Stava. It sounds like this person joined the ants after getting separated from their former group by planting ant heads on sticks and calling them his friends. I smash some more berries and challenge a pair of bombardier beetles on the way back. I patiently chip away at their health and eventually beat the pair. I get back to my base and construct a drying rack, then head to sleep. The next morning, I start cooking a mite loaf at my cooking station, then leave to analyze the mosquito materials. It's time to explore the pond. I swim for a bit and spot some tadpoles. I also spot a koi fish swimming in the distance, but decide not to mess with it. That is salmon? I realize there are even more threats in the water as I spot a diving spider in the depths below. I collect some algae and hunt a tadpole with my spear, then spot another swimming insect called a water boatman. Underneath the lily pads, I discover some wax and harvest it. At base, I analyze the new materials and end the night after taking care of my machines. The next day, I return to the pond and this time dive a bit deeper. I hunt the water boatman and grab all the wax that I can find. Then, suddenly one of the diving bell spiders attacks me with an intimidating hiss. Oh! I lure it closer to the surface and finish it off. I finish collecting most of the materials that I need from the pond, then go analyze them. I craft a pair of flippers that lets me swim faster. I dive to the bottom of the pond, relying on air bubbles that appear occasionally for oxygen. I find a way that leads me even deeper and discover a place called the Sunken T-Rex. I find some koi scales here, then go back to base and sleep. Now I have enough materials to make the gill tube. This offers me much more oxygen to explore the deep parts of the pond. I dig up some koi scales and bones, then to my surprise, I discover a lab down here. Curious to check it out, I dive all the way to the entrance with barely any air left. No, 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 please, please, I'm gonna suffocate! Oh my gosh, that was such a gamble. In another room, I get attacked by a robot called Arker, but manage to defeat it. I notice that the power of the lab is interrupted and dive back outside to look for a way to switch it back on. There are 3 nodes in the pond that I'll have to activate. The first one is quickly taken care of. The second one is in a deep tunnel, and I manage to reach it to turn it on, but almost drown trying to find a way out. The last one is guarded by some spiders, but I manage to avoid them to finish the task. With the power on, I end the day by sleeping in the submerged lab. I start another day and explore the new areas that I can now reach. Here, I find a weird lump of meat floating in some kind of tank. A file is nearby and contains a ham's test report. Seems like Dr. Tully was trying to grow some actual meat on the spliced Brussels sprout stems and calls them muscle sprouts. Why can't I drink this water? You let me drink dirty water before, why can't I do it now? I have to embrace death. There's nothing else I can do. I didn't think my last words would be I dive through an extremely dark tunnel, then reach another new room. I grab some granola bars and eat them while I listen to the next voice log. Dr. Tully mentions that he aged about 20 years as a side effect of the shrinking process. Despite this, he doesn't want to give up his research, even if it's shortening his lifespan. I access Dr. Tully's computer by smashing the keys, but it tells me to reboot the biodome terminal. I go through a shortcut back to the previous room and fight a bunch of robots that try to defend the area. The tunnels lead me higher, and there are even more of the robots in a large room room with ramps leading upstairs. Here I can scan my materials and reach a brain blast to think of even more recipes. Dr. Tully mentions in a file that his wife Trudy tossed a ring into the pond, so he tasked Burgle to retrieve it. Since a koi swallowed Trudy's ring, he named the fish Trudy II. I go up the ramps and find the pond dome. There are a bunch of the mussel sprouts here, but they seem to hurt me as I eat them. I discover the first super chip for Burgle and a duper disc to activate a machine in the Oak Lab. I mash the keys on the dome's console, causing the dome to open up and give me a nice view of the pond from below. This also opens up a hatch that will let me enter the pond lab much more easily. I go back to the main lab and insert the duper disc. The disc activates a machine that lets me dupe my items for raw science. Then I give the super chip to Burgle. The little robot feels much better with some of his memories back. He can now tell me the locations of all the labs that I can find in the backyard. I buy a cookbook in the science shop for pond-related recipes. Then I return to my base and end the day pondering over the new meals that I can cook. When I go to sleep, suddenly I get some kind of flashback. I find myself strapped to a strange contraption staring at an Ominent logo. I see the rays of the shrinking machine hit me, then wake up at my base. I go back to Burgle to tell him about my dream. This confirms his suspicions that there's a second spacer at Ominent, which was the company that Dr. Tully used to work for. I continue my day by heading back to the pond. I dive to collect more bones and fight off some spiders. Then I discover the discarded wedding ring and get rewarded with a new mutation. With the mutation active, I can dive back down to the sunken T-Rex faster and finally manage to smash some bones there. Air before I go. Oh. Near the T-Rex, I can spot a sunken treasure chest, but it turns out to be locked. Back at my base, I use the bones to craft a bubble helmet, which lets me dive much longer. Another thing I can make from the bones is a trident. The sun already sets while I'm crafting, and I call it a day. The next morning, I take my new equipment to the pond and experience a way too close encounter with the koi. No! Oh my gosh. 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 Get on the leaf. Get on the leaf. Get on the leaf. Get on the leaf. Leaf. Get on the leaf. Get on the leaf! Okay, I dive down to look for the treasure chest key, but it doesn't seem to be nearby. Back at surface level, I pick a fight with a bombardier beetle. Everything is fine, Bob. We're just having a friendly conversation with Fred. Go away, Bob. Fred and I just want to have a friendly chat privately. Friendlyly. Not too far away, I find a thistle plant and climb it to collect its needles. A bunch of mosquitoes are hanging out at the pond's shoreline, and I hunt them before returning to base. Here, I craft a mosquito rapier and later analyze the thistle needles. I make a quick stop at my base to craft some arrows for my bow. Down in a cave, I find some pebbles that I can break with my hammer. Behind the pebbles, I find a little secret area with some raw science and a bunch of upgrade materials that I can't break yet. After searching for a while, I come across some fireflies. Yes! I found you. Oh, now bless me with your light. Bless me! I said bless me! I don't want to be blessed by a spider! Wait, the spider's attacking them! It's mad! No, be mad at them, not me! Near a power outlet, I find a skeleton. It carries a recon journal that identifies the skeleton as the expedition group's compliance officer. Apparently, they got work that turned out to be some kind of cover-up job from Ominent. They described the expedition group as a gaggle of eggheads and also mentioned the ex-military guy who befriended the ants. I also pick up and examine some suspicious Polaroids. The report further mentions that the goal of the group was to uncover the documentation left behind by Dr. Tully and mentions the photos as part of the evidence. They point out a large antenna as part of the hedge lab and explain that they're going to climb the outlet to try and reach it. This explains how this person met their end here. I climb the paperclip again to reach the hedge's branches. I find a zipline near some juice and ride it to find the entrance to the hedge lab. I immediately get attacked by some robots but smack them good. In a file, I read some notes about the spacer and the troubles of Dr. Tully as he tried to find the source of some radio wave-like interference. I move to the next room and find another report, this time mentioning some adjustments to the spacer to help with the unexpected interference issues. He now strongly suspects Ominent behind the sabotage. I pull the lever of the surveyor scanner. This activates the antenna and seems to let me scan for materials at the survey stations. I reach the branches again and start climbing down while dealing with the spiderling. In a lower lab room, I find food and raw science and a voice log of Dr. Tully complaining about spiders invading his labs. I slide down another zip line and land near a frisbee. Another zip line leads me to another hedge lab room with some raw science and spiderlings to fight. I take out the spiderlings, then balance on some branches to reach a zip zip line that seems to lead me to the main part of the hedge lab. I smash some keys on a keyboard to open some locked doors. Some doors, however, seem to be completely jammed by cobwebs and I have to slice through to proceed. I break through another entangled door and dispose of some robots that try to defend the facility. I find a storage room filled with materials, then a zip line leads me onto a thin branch. I follow it to reach the next room. This room contains a torn piece of a scribbled password. I go through a shortcut to a previous room and find another torn piece of the password. Another zip line leads to an unexplored part of the lab. There's the next torn note here and more doors covered in cobwebs. One last zip line ride leads to a small room and I find the last part of the password here. With the password, I open a room to find this lab's super chip and a voice log that mentions Dr. Tully abandoning the hedge lab because of a close encounter with the broodmother. I leave the hedge lab and carefully climb down the branches. Wait, is he stuck? He's stuck. Oh. No, I was kidding. I would never cheese. I would never ever cheese. Oh, the gas, it hurts. Back at base, I put some fresh berries on my drying rack. I enter the main lab and give Burgle the missing super chip. This lets Burgle diagnose the spacer explosion, and he figures out that the embiggening cell must be broken. He hands me an empty replacement cell, but unfortunately, the recipe to recharge it is missing from his memory. After upgrading my rapier, I poke some ants with it. Whoa, you're gonna gooba stomp that weevil. Oh, when I get my stamina back, you're dead. Come here. Stop! Oh my gosh! There we go. Red ants want you gone. What does that mean? The day ends and I craft an improved torch to hunt at night. Finding some fireflies is much easier now as I can track them with the surveyor. I attack them near the pond and quickly dispose of them. I can't find the last firefly. Fiery, reveal yourself so I can impale you. Fiery. Fiery, poke the butt, I'm so excited to see you. I must poke, I'm so happy to see you. I must impale you, yeah. Completing the firefly quest rewards me with lots of raw science. Back at base, I make sure my machines are all running and finally craft the firefly headlamp. I mean, it's not as strong as a torch, but pretty close. I go to sleep and find myself in another flashback-like dream. I'm in some kind of lab, shrunken and surrounded by scientists that seem to be reviewing what effects the shrinking process has on the body. Then out of nowhere, they get told that they have to discuss a project called Org to the Department of Defense. I then go tell Burgle about my dream.
Always happy to see a repeat customer.
I'm not a customer. You're my psychiatrist. Tell me about this dream. He doesn't seem to know anything about this project named Org. I learned more about the side effects of shrinking, however, which include constipation and dehydration besides the memory loss. I take a quick detour to the pond lab to harvest more mussel sprouts. So these things are not safe to eat by themselves, but we can use them as a base for our smoothies. I spot a bee near my base and snipe it with my bow to get its attention. You suck. We start trading blows, but I manage to defeat the bee and scan its materials. Next, I go on to stink bug, which ends up being harder than I thought. Okay, yeah, that does not work. Oh, that damage. I get into a better position and snipe the stink bug from a safe place and take his loot back to base. Analyzing its materials causes a brain blast and unlocks a few more interesting recipes. Next, I craft a gas mask and go back to look for another stink bug. Yo, Stanky, I destroyed Stinky. Okay. What's the matter, Stanky? What's the matter? You surprised I don't mind your stank? I don't mind your stank anymore. Ow. Your stank don't bother me, Stanky. Yeah. Fart all over me. Smells amazing. I don't mind your stank. The next day, I start preparing for my revenge on the wolf spiders. I lure one of the spiders out of its cave with my bow, then start fighting while trying to avoid its poison. I challenge it again and again until I manage to take it down. My shield's broken! Oh my gosh! Yes! Oh my god! You got him! That was so clutch when my shield broke and I parried the 5-hit combo like twice in a row. You have to perfect parry it, otherwise it poisons you if you don't have a shield. I end the day and use the morning hours to prepare to fight another wolf spider. Since I know how they fight now, the fight is not much of a problem anymore. Yes! Let's go! bow! The spider drops enough materials to make a better bow. My next wolf spider fight gets interrupted by an orb weaver, but I make sure to take them both out. With that done, I upgrade my helmet and rapier, then craft a spider dagger with the venom. I explore at night, but get swarmed by ants. After obliterating them, I enter their hive and collect a lot of materials and even some raw science. Further in, I come across a milk molar and make sure to take it with me. When I get back to the surface, a new day has already started. I analyze my ant parts and now have enough for another brain blast. This unlocks black ant materials to craft. I check out the science shop, and with the molar's power, I permanently increase my stamina. I continue my search for the missing chips and find another one of those mixer devices. I activate it and it goes into overdrive, which attracts a lot of the nearby insects. They attack the mixer and me relentlessly, but I do my best to defend it. Just before the overdrive is finished, they manage to break the mixer though. I try the mixer again and push back wave after wave of hostile insects, and the overdrive gets completed. I get rewarded with a new mutation and a nice amount of raw science. Next, I prep some food before returning to the ant pile and collecting some materials, along with a chip that I missed the first time around. I hand the chip over to Burgle back at the main lab, and he remembers a few more recipes for the science shop. There, I buy new upgrades for bandages, canteens, and a max stamina mutation. I venture out at night to look for another one of the labs. Eventually, I reach some cracks in the ground and can see some glowing mushrooms and an infected larva below. I glide down and collect raw science, but get chased around by the infected larva and their poison. Unfortunately, they're too much for me and I fall to their attacks. I return and grab my backpack, then sleep to start the next day. This time, I lure the infected bugs out one by one and slowly progress through the mushroom territory. I find a mega molar here and collect it. Even more of the infected larvae attack me, but I manage to defeat them. There's also some marble and crow feathers nearby, so I pick those up as well. I make my way back to base and analyze all the new materials for new recipes. I also spot another mega milk molar in the main lab and use the both of them to increase the stack sizes of my consumables and resources. I make a quick detour to the red ant hive to grab some ant eggs. With those, I can craft some bratburst bombs at base. I also stock up on smoothies for heals. Okay, you know what? I don't know. This is my legendary... No, wait. I am the master chef. Iron Chef Pauses. We are gonna put sap, a boom boom. No, don't do that. Clover and sprig. Yay! What did I get? Questionable slot. I clear the spider cave near my base again and blow up a cracked rock to reveal another mega milk molar. I use the second bomb on another cracked rock that I found earlier, but unfortunately there's only a larva and another breakable rock behind. I end the day in the tent that I left near the fungus area. The next morning, I climb a large rock and find some infected mites that I need to take care of. Once I take out the small ones, it's time to deal with an infected ladybug. After that fight, I need to take a stop at base to replenish my supplies. I return to the gas-flooded area at night and find some infected gnats flying around and a slab of sturdy marble and smash it to collect its pieces. There's also a suspicious piece of gum nearby. I climb some kind of tank that is constantly leaking gas. I could probably repair the leaks with the gum, but don't have the right shovel to harvest it yet. There's an entrance to the haze lab too, but I need a bomb to enter it. For now, I sleep in my tent again and keep exploring. Near a garden hose, I find black ants. A bit further, I discover the entrance to the black ant hive along with the milk molar. I take some of the ants on, then go deeper into the hive to find another lab. I can't seem to find a way inside, but instead take all the materials back to the main lab and analyze them for a brain blast. At base, I upgrade my mosquito needle, then make a better shovel and shield. The next morning, I return to the red ant hive to find some eggs. I take the ant eggs home and use them to craft more bratburst bombs. I prepare plenty of supplies and use up a milk molar to get a permanent upgrade to my health. I sleep through another night, then head back to the cracked wall near my base. This time, I manage to break all the way through and find some raw science along with an underground research tent there. A bit further in, I find yet another breakable wall and blow it up with another bratburst. There, a swarm of larvae attack me, but I manage to defeat them. I have better things to do all day than sit here and poke your bug butt all day. Enough! With my remaining bombs, I start my journey back to the haze lab entrance. I blow the entrance open, then use my upgraded shovel to get the chewing gum unstuck. I climb back up onto the canister and use the gum to plug the hole. With this, I manage to stop the poison from leaking so I don't need my gas mask anymore. Next, I enter the haze lab and study one of Dr. Tully's whiteboards that describes the effects of the shrinking process on a person's age. There's also a letter from Trudy telling him that she's leaving and taking the kids too. In the voice log, Dr. Tully expresses his feelings about the situation but still doesn't want to give up his research. He mentions his own physical state, something he describes as raisening, and calls the mushrooms his new family. I continue through the dark tunnels of the lab and fight some robots. Another recording reveals that Dr. Tully was experimenting on mushrooms to find a way to reverse the effects of cell cell aging. A bit deeper in the lab, I find everything overgrown with the bad mushrooms and some infected insects too. Some of the tunnels are flooded and I have to dive and fight some diving spiders and water fleas to get through. I find raw science and a mega milk molar there. Another tunnel leads to an alternative exit through a broken pipe. I go back to the entrance and explore a different path. I grab some raw science behind one of the lab rooms, then open a door surrounded by the exploding mushrooms. Cool ideas. Edible mushrooms that talk. You're so smart, Wendell. Hi. Okay, this guy was going crazy. I pull a lever, then continue exploring and find another folder with experiment results. It describes the explosive behavior of the phase 3 mushroom mutation and how the mutated spores spread to the bugs. In the next room, I get attacked by an infected ladybug and escape right into the arms of an infected larva. I get overwhelmed by their attacks and have to retrace my steps to find my lost backpack. Luckily, when I return to the ladybug, the larvae are already gone. More and more infected bugs swarm me during the fight, and I get knocked out once again. Now that some of my equipment is broken, I set the boss fight aside for now. I head to the Black Ant Hive for some of their materials and find a mega milk molar and a new enemy, a roly-poly, on the way. I challenge a sickly roly-poly to a fight, but he keeps healing all damage constantly until eventually I get overwhelmed by his strong attacks. I postpone the roly-poly fight and finish my journey to the black ants instead. I fight a couple of workers first, then look for the entrance to their hive. I sleep to end the day and search for the black ant pile during the daytime. Eventually I find it and challenge the soldiers for their parts. Unfortunately, my rapier breaks, making it necessary for me to return to my main base. Once I make it back, I repair my broken equipment and set my surveyor to find the black ant soldiers' mandibles. I grab some basic materials and prep some food, then find a milk molar close to my base. I spend it right away for a bonus on my hunger and thirst drain. When I get out, I spot a new enemy, an infected wolf spider crawling around near my base. Infected wolf spider? Excuse me, what? To make traveling through the yard a bit easier, I decide to set up zip lines and return to the main lab to buy the recipe. I upgrade my spider dagger and leave to collect weed stems and clay for the zipline anchors. I construct the first zipline anchor and aim for the haze tank for the second anchor. I go over to the haze tank and construct the second anchor and try to connect them. I try a higher location and climb some rocks, but unfortunately the zipline is obstructed here too. Sucky! I leave the zipline anchor near the haze tank for now and end the day. Near the Black Ant Hill, I find an old log of Dr. Tully's first demonstration of the spacer. He mentions that director Dalton Schmechter from Ominent is present during the demo, but unfortunately the spacer fails. I hunt a few more black ants and manage to annoy them. At a field station, I find another log from Dr. Tully's time at Ominent. He mentions a few more failed projects of his, like the gluon and the scabby, which ultimately led him to go back to experimenting on the shrinking machine. I decide to challenge the roly-poly again, but I still don't manage to get through its healing, which makes another trip necessary for repairs. On the way, I grab some gum and berries. I sleep under the berry bush and snipe a few more for leather, then return to base. I repair my equipment, then upgrade my ant club and gas mask. Then, I craft a black ant sword and equip it to replace my poison dagger. I mix up some smoothies and fill my canteen, then buy the ladder crafting recipe and begin to construct a tower. I stack a few more segments and craft ladders to reach the top. After a quick sparring session with an infected wolf spider, I decide to end the day. Where he's stuck. If only I'd brought enough arrows. Oh my gosh! Well, I'm dead. The next morning, I ask Burgle about the other labs. He confirms what I already knew about Dr. Tully creating the fungus that eventually spread to the local wildlife. He also tells me that the Black Ant Lab is located under the sandbox. It was there that Dr. Tully researched raw science and its explosive side effects. However, black ants invaded this lab and took it over. I buy grass-based building recipes and use them to build a floor at the top of my tower. I relocate the zipline anchor all the way to the top. Unfortunately, the line still doesn't connect. As night sets in, my base suddenly gets swarmed by hostile orb weavers looking for payback. Why are they not hugging so much, dude? Get away from him, please! You're literally sitting in his nuts! I try to defend my base, but eventually they retreat after delivering their payback. I end the night, but then find my smoothie station destroyed. Chat, should we try to find out just how stuck this spider is? This might be a mistake. This might be a horrible mistake. Jump down here, please. I think he broke my drying rack. Next, I work on my zipline tower by building it a bit higher. I finish my work on the tower, then place the zipline anchor. Yes, yes. I said build. Yes. Am I high enough now? Am I high enough now? With this done, the zipline finally connects, allowing me to travel all the way to the haze area in no time. I grab some more gum from underneath the porch. Then I climb the haze canister again and try to remove the gum that I used to plug the hole. I hope that releasing the poison will stop the fungus from spreading, but unfortunately the gum won't budge anymore. After entering the lab again, it's time to challenge the infected ladybug once more. The fight still proves to be an intense battle, and after trading blows across the room, I eventually have to admit defeat. On my way back, I spot a gold molar in the tunnels with the fungi and infected bugs. I retrieve my backpack and try my luck with the roly-poly instead. With a little bit more power, I finally managed to out-damage the roly-poly's healing and gladly collect its materials. I scan them in a nearby science station and check out the new gear I can craft with it. Another roly-poly is not too far away, but it breaks my gear after a few attempts, and I have to leave it be for now. Fart on me! Fart on me! I don't care! I don't care! What just broke? What broke? Wait, my gas mask! Oh, I think, yeah, it eats up the durability very fast if you're using it to like inhale. Bro! I return to my base and make an upgrade to my gas mask and club and sword. I repair the rest of my equipment and then sleep to begin the next day. I make a detour back to the pond lab and harvest more mussel sprouts. I take the time to search the pond again for the key to the sunken treasure chest. Eventually, I find a small tunnel under the pond lab completely infested with spiders. I find the mossy key here, then use it to open the sunken treasure chest. Inside, I find a gold milk molar and a chip for Burgle. Back at the main lab, I hand the chip over and unlock new recipes in the science shop. Sup. I gotta... Back in my day, we had to pull out the cartridge and blow in it when it didn't work and then shove it back into the console. I also take on a new quest and increase my resources stack size using milk molars. Afterwards, I return to my preparation for the infected ladybug fight. To make bombs, I head out to raid the red ant pile again. I discover some fungal growth down here showing just how far the infection has already spread. Then, I use the eggs to craft more bombs for my arsenal. I set my surveyor to find stink bugs and head out to hunt them. While I'm at it, I also take out some ladybugs and once night sets, some fireflies too. Back at base, I make sure to repair and upgrade my equipment. Then, I craft some gas arrows using the stink bug materials, which hopefully should help with the upcoming battle. I sleep back at base and start the new day by heading to the haze lab with my bombs and arrows equipped. I enter the haze lab and bravely approach the boss room. I circle along the walls of the room, trying to dodge the explosions while throwing bombs and shooting gas arrows. I get the boss to around half health when I run out of bombs and arrows, but new infected larvae just keep swarming me. Eventually, I reduce the numbers of infected larvae and mites, but still fall to the constant explosions. I repair my equipment and craft all the supplies that I can. My zipline lets me return quickly, and this time I chug a bunch of smoothies for buffs. Finally, I manage to clear the smaller bugs and the fight turns into a duel. I dodge the explosions and go in for hits until I finally manage to defeat the ladybug. I continue my exploration of the haze lab and seem to reach its end. In a room with lots of monitors, I listen to another log. Dr. Tully summarizes the trouble with the infected insects and the raisening of his body. He's left no other choice but to abandon the haze lab and flood the area with poison to contain the infection. Then he moves on to the black ant lab. I grab the haze super chip for Burgle, and on my way back, I find another skeleton of one of the Ominent expedition members. This one's name is D. Reed, and he talks about the Orc project. He was supposed to set up operations and take care of the other members while staying in hiding. However, the dangers of the yard and the fact that the team didn't stick together made his job much harder. Eventually, he was caught in Dr. Tully's emergency shutdown of the haze lab and got trapped down here due to the poison. Back at base, I make some upgrades and repairs. Then, I head back to the main lab and give Burgle another super chip. Memories are returning to him and he remembers part of the embiggening cocktail recipe, but not all of it. I check out the new recipes and purchase some advanced production building recipes. I craft a better version of the flip-flops and check out the incomplete list of ingredients for the embiggening cocktail. I end the day by hunting some aphids for food, then go to sleep. In my dreams, I experience another flashback. I'm in some sort of cage with Director Schmechter watching. He gets an update on solving the raisening problem. However, embiggening is still something that the Ominent scientists can't figure out, and he orders my termination. I mention the dream to Burgle, and he explains that Schmechter is the head of the science division at Ominent and also Dr. Tully's former boss, but they didn't get along at all. I also learn more about the raisening, which is a side effect due to the dehydration that especially occurs after multiple shrinking processes. Luckily, Burgle doesn't detect any signs of raisening on me. Then, I head out to look for an entrance to the Black Ant's nest and ride my zipline to get close to the sandbox. After looking around for a while, I find the Black Ant hive again and make my my way through. I fight a bunch of black ants and eventually discover an entrance to the lab. I grab some loot from a chest, then check out a data file. It mentions that Tully took some special precautions due to Ominent spying on him and tasked Burgle to store all his memories on chips. Tully personally took care of stashing away the super chips while Burgle was supposed to hide the less important ones. I jump down back to the ant pile caves and find a wall that I can blow up with a brat burst. Behind it, I can pick up a milk molar. I go back up and reach the area that I found before. I jump onto a ledge and collect some raw science, then loot a chest, but the door here is also locked. Nearby, there's a caved-in part of the lab, and by blowing up the debris, I open up a way inside. I go back to the ant tunnels and find a strange tunnel, the Black Anthill Descent. I get attacked by an antlion and manage to take it down. I explore the sandbox and find another antlion sitting in a trap hole and throwing black ants at me. I keep my distance for now and discover a field station. Here, I analyze the antlion parts. I rehydrate in a nearby rain puddle and keep fighting antlions for materials. As the sun rises, I start taking sizzling damage from the heat. I stick to the shade, then retreat to the ant tunnels to avoid the sun. This time around, I enter the ant lab through the breach that I opened and quickly take out a defense robot. In a room nearby, I mash some keys at a console which gives me access to Sector A of the lab. In the same room, I find a log of Dr. Tully experimenting on the mixers and learning that it somehow angers the local bugs. For this reason, the ants invaded the lab. In another file, I read about the mixer's development and learn that their purpose is to generate raw science to somehow cure Dr. Tully's reasoning. I continue my exploration and fight off more robots. I proceed through the corridors but lack clearance for Sector B. I reach the ledge again, this time from inside. From here, I jump back down to the more central room and go through a door that is now open due to Sector A clearance. There's some raw science here, along with a hole that leads deeper into the lab where I find a golden glowing orb. There are plenty of resources in this room too, but I don't have enough inventory space for most of them. I take care of more robots, then find a new data folder in the next room. Dr. Tully starts to suspect that something bigger might be going on and worries that Ominent has learned about the mixer technology. He mentions another robot unit that should act as an assistant manager and extra level of security. On a nearby science diagram, I find Tully's suspicions illustrated along with a diagram of the manager robot with the key. In the same room, I can open Sector B and head there right away. After progressing through some tunnels, I find a mega milk molar and hit a switch to access an observation chamber. However, without another bomb, I won't be able to break through the glass. I make my way back to base and manage my supplies. At the pond lab, I quickly grab the regrown muscle sprouts to make some smoothies. Then, I head to the red ant nest and raid it for more eggs. I use the eggs to craft more bombs, and I craft a chest to expand my storage. I also dive for some clay, but the koi mistakes me for fish food. After successfully grabbing some clay this time, I craft a bed which makes my base a little more cozy. After preparing all the food and smoothies that I need, I end the day by sleeping. The next morning, I make my way back to the Black Ant lab. I enter through the Black Ant pile and go back to the lab's section B. I blow up the other breakable wall first and find a gold milk molar in a cave with lots of mushrooms. Then, I return to the observation chamber and blow up the glass frame. After my intrusion gets detected, I get swarmed by a bunch of robots. One of them is the assistant manager who attacks me with energy balls. At some point, he summons new robots and activates a bunch of spinning lasers which immediately take me out. I go back to the boss room, this time mentally prepared to dodge the lasers. I jump and crouch to avoid them. Luckily, he can't keep the lasers up forever, which gives me room to attack. I learn that the corners of the room are relatively safe and use them to my advantage. After I bring him down to half health, he adds some electric fields around the corner pillars that make it almost impossible not to get hit. I stick to the middle pillar, and after patiently chipping away at his health, I manage to defeat him and grab his keycard. I continue my exploration and find a science diagram describing the mixer. A nearby whiteboard contains a map with all the mixer locations. Next to it, there's a door that seems to be locked until I complete all the mixers. Next, I go through a door that only opens with the keycard. I find a picture of a somewhat raisined-looking Dr. Tully and a voice log there. He confirms again that the raw science production with the mixers is now happening across the whole yard instead of keeping them all in one spot. He seems very distressed and orders the shutdown of the Black Ant lab too, leaving Burgle behind. Then, he heads off to an unknown location and sounds like he has one last plan prepared. I grab the final super chip, then return to my base. I repair my equipment and make more smoothies. Then, I go back to the pond and dive to open a room that needs the key card to open. I get a left elf charm here and equip it for a bonus to blocking. I also press a switch which opens something as seen on the monitor above, but can't quite make out where it is. On my way back to base, I find a missing milk molar and spend it to get an additional slot for mutations. Then, I hand over the final super chip and get another ingredient for the embiggening cocktail. Sadly, I learned that Dr. Tully completely wiped the final ingredient from Burgle's memory. However, he gets the idea to locate Dr. Tully by using his scabby. Burgle connects to his device by making some modem sounds, then downloads the exact location. However, he gets some kind of error code, probably because Tully has some kind of problem with his Scabby. I learned that the location is by his favorite chair near the shed and receive a replacement fuse to fix the malfunctioning Scabby. I purchased some new recipes at the science shop, including smithing recipes and new upgrades. I'm now able to open a locked door in the main lab with the assistant manager's keycard. Behind it, I find a whiteboard with notes on a zipline that can even go upwards. Oh, the aphid is so sad. It has to run in the wheel all day. I grab the zipper, then head back to base. I check out my new recipes and discover one for Sarah's charm, which requires me to also find the right elf charm. I craft a glue masher and squeeze it next to my cooking station. I lay down in my bed only to get another flashback-like dream. Someone from Omnant straps me into a suitcase with a Scabby. The other scientist from earlier is also here, and they're discussing that not terminating us as Director Schmechter requested might cost them their heads. They mention that Dr. Tully has been missing for months, but finding him is my only hope to get back to my old size since nobody from Omnant knows how to reverse the shrinking. I return to Burgle again, but this time he has nothing to say about my dream. I spot the workshed and chair that Burgle mentioned across a garden wall. I slowly make my way there and look for a path across. There are a bunch of bees there that eventually overwhelm me, but I manage to get my backpack back and even find a milk molar in a bottle near the picnic table. I explore the area to find a way to the top. I clear some nearby bugs and build a shelter near the garden wall to end the day. Eventually I find a way to get on the garden wall, and from there I reach the upper yard. To my surprise, this area seems to be covered in ash and hot coals from a fallen barbecue grill. I try to make my way across, but exploring near the hot ashes causes sizzling damage. I find a ladybug larva, then keep exploring and discover a new science station. A bit further, I find a stronger roly-poly and challenge it. It easily out-heals my damage, so I have to abandon the fight. I go back to the barbecue area and grab a mega milk molar. Then, I try to run through the hot coals while chugging smoothies before I give up and return to base to better prepare for the sizzling damage. After taking care of my supplies, I end the day. Then, I ride the zipline back, this time using my zipper, which lets me even ride uphill. I land and jump right in a cave with a bunch of spiders and bones. I fight off the spiders, then find the exit of the cave with a gravestone for the family's hamster. From here, I reach the shovel and make it fall against the picnic table by blowing up a rock underneath it. Oh. I didn't really think that through. I thought I was gonna get crushed. I explore the first bench of the picnic table and grab some salt. I find some bees on my way to the other bench and find some books and a pair of glasses here. I climb the books and reach the top of the picnic table via the cooler box. I explore some plates with cookies and an abandoned tabletop game. There's a treasure chest inside, but I don't have the key. There's also a field station here, so I use my mega milk molars to increase my consumable stack size. I analyze my new materials and continue exploring the picnic leftovers. I find more bees near a honey jar. What are you doing? Why are you rubbing your butt all over the honey? Then discover a conveniently placed zip line that connects to the sandbox. A risky jump into a soda can rewards me with a lot of raw science. Then I ride the zip line back to the sandbox and find a bunch of antlions for their materials. I scan them in a nearby research station and check out the antlion weapon. I continue fighting the antlions and reveal an entrance to their tunnels. While exploring, I grab some materials and raw science. At this point, I'm running out of food, so I feast on some nearby aphids. I rush through the black ant lab to get back to the surface. Here, I try to relocate my zip line to be able to ride it back to base. Unfortunately, my ride gets interrupted by some grass in the way, so for now I walk instead. Back at base, I craft the antlion armor, which helps reduce sizzling damage. Then, I repair my equipment and fight some fireflies and mosquitoes near the pond for materials. I make upgrades to my armor, then start planning the layout for the new zip lines. I pick up the anchor from near the haze tank and carry it to the picnic table. Some bees attack me and push me back. After a quick break, I lose their attention and place the anchor on a picnic plate. While trying to do a little adjustment, the anchor and line break and their parts fall all over the place. After grabbing all the materials again, I construct it once more with the anchor now at the rim of the plate, then take the zip line for a quick test ride. Oh my gosh, no, 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 no! Bro! Luckily, riding it back works better, and I zipline back to the sandbox to farm more antlions. In their tunnels, I eventually find another mega milk molar. I almost starve while fighting, but luckily managed to break some edible crumbs off a fallen hot dog. With all the materials, I make my way back to base, and this time managed to get away from the bee. I can finally craft the antlion sword and upgrade it right away. I leave to harvest mussel sprouts and use them to mix up some smoothies. Then, I head out on my journey back to the upper yard. I find a mega milk molar under some gum on the way. I try the journey through the hot coals again, but even with the antlion armor, the sizzling damage builds up quickly. I discover a skeleton of one of the Ominent expedition members in the ashes and grab the documents it carries. A journal explains that this person was a biologist studying insects who complains about the group splitting up. A strange coffee maker is also mentioned. I check out some snapshots and indeed they show a suspicious coffee maker with some wires coming out of it, just like something Dr. Tully would build, along with a large scabby that belonged to someone before they were shrunk. I harvest some charcoal but have to work quickly near the glowing hot coals. I defend against a ladybug larva, but a wolf spider swoops in and poisons me, chasing me off the upper yard. That one's like, move over, I want to sleep here. And Jeff's just like, no, my sleeping spot, go get your own. Attaboy Jeff, stand your ground. This time I decide to fight the wolf spider, but a second one decides to assist. I take them one by one, then return to smashing coals. A ladybug larva unalives me while I'm at it, but on my way back, I find a missing milk molar under the picnic table. With the antlion armor, I finally make it across the coals and actually find a mega milk molar inside the barbecue grill. I can see Dr. Tully's chair nearby and make my way there. I spot a new bug, a ladybird, on the way. Then I climb a bike to reach the shed, keeping my distance from the black ants. From here, I climb a garden hose. I see the suspicious coffee maker in the distance and find a science station with fire ants nearby. I analyze the charcoal in the tent, then challenge a fireworker ant. I analyze its materials too, then leave to jump on a baseball bat that leans against the garden chair. There are dust mites here and a whole bunch of black ants, but I avoid them for now. Unfortunately, I can't reach Dr. Tully's scabby without a dandelion tuft and leave it for later. I climb back down and slowly take out the ants one by one. I clear the way to fight some dust mites for their materials. Analyzing the new mite stuff at the nearby research station lets me reach another brain blast. Then I leave to grab a dandelion tuft and run into some fire ants that give me a taste of their acid attacks. With the tuft, I can land on Dr. Tully's table and find his original size scabby and an ashtray with nail clippings. I end the day, then take a closer look at Dr. Tully's belongings. Unfortunately, to open the scabby's casing and harvest the nails, I'll need a better hammer. I go back to base and make some upgrades to my equipment. Then I start processing some spider silk for ropes. To get even more silk, I challenge the infected wolf spider near my base, which proves to be a pretty lethal encounter still. Next, I craft an oven and find a nice little spot to squeeze it onto my branch. Beautiful. I then make a short detour to the sandbox where I manage to get more antlion materials. Eventually, I discover an entrance to a lab outpost and go inside right away. Here, I find a spicy pepper and a burgle chip. On a table, there's a picture of a very raisined-looking Dr. Tully, along with one of his voice logs. He admits his failures and promises to use the rest of his energy to cure the raisioning. I find a whiteboard in the same room with a clue for a buried key and treasure chest in the sandbox. I suspect that the shovel's shadow will align with the right location at 4 o'clock. Until then, I find a few more antlions and then return to base. Here, I make sure my brick and rope production is running and repair my antlion sword. Then, I end the day and rush back to the sandbox to solve the mystery of the buried key. I unlock the treasure chest in the sandcastle's moat and find a milk molar and a recipe for a salt morningstar there.
You can be smart, fast, lucky, or just wear some armor.
Oh. Back at base, I use the milk molars to upgrade my max amount of mutations. Then, I invest the mega milk molars to increase my resources stack size. Afterwards, I hand over the new chip to Burgle and get access to more recipes. I buy the sandbox cookbook and flavored glob crafting recipes for the oven. Then, I go grab all the materials to expand my zipline network. Near the pagoda, I discover what seems to be another lab outpost. I grab some raw science and find a whiteboard with clues to open another treasure chest. I use the assistant manager's keycard to go even deeper and loot a room with lots of useful materials. I climb the pagoda and find a research station here. I set the surveyor to find tough gunk, which drops from bugs like roly-polies. I walk back to base and start burning some salt globs in my oven. Meanwhile, I journey back to the picnic table and place another zipline anchor while getting bullied by bees in gravity. No! Filthy bees! Who put that crack there, dude? Make cracks illegal. Illegalize cracks. The cracks should not exist. Cracks are a myth. I hate cracks. On the way, I find another milk molar and some raw science. In the cracks of the upper yard, I also find some pupae, but don't have the tools to cut them yet. There's another research station out here and a voice log left by an extremely paranoid Dr. Tully. He notices the ominous exploration team spying on him. I also find some termites near some chopped wood and decide to check them out later. I build the anchor and grab a dandelion tuft. Then I carry the anchor across the bike and all the way to the garden chair. I ride the new zipline back to the picnic table and fight some bees for stingers. I use the stingers to make a wall anchor but still crash on the way back. I make a few adjustments and this time I make it all the way to the table by reconnecting the zipline to the wall anchor. I ride the other line back to base, then end the day and finish my preparations. Don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. No, my butt! No, yes! Oh my gosh, I did not consent to your thrust. With that, I head out to explore the termite area. I run into some termite soldiers right away and do my best to fight them off. I analyze their materials in a nearby research station. A bit deeper in this area, I find the entrance to a lab, but the door seems to be broken. Higher up, there's the entrance to a termite nest and I fight the colony by luring them out. I take an unexpected shortcut back to base by jumping from a ledge that turns out to be too high for me to survive. I sleep the night away and repair my mosquito needle, which should help against the termites. I discover a scarab while retrieving my backpack, but it turns out to be too squirmy to hunt. There's also some buried treasures here, and I take as much of it as I can carry. Without a dandelion, I can't reach my zip line, so I carry my stuff back to base and store it. Then I venture out to reach the termite nest again. I slay a few termites in front of the nest, then enter their tunnels. After collecting some raw science, I reach the wood pile and defend against mosquito attacks. A bit higher up, I find a milk molar under a tarp. Next, I climb on top of the tarp and walk across to find more mosquitoes and more raw science. Towards the end, there's a mega milk molar. I leave the area while the sun rises and a new day begins. I manage my resources, then craft and upgrade the termite axe. Then, I place a zipline anchor that should connect my base all the way to the garden shed. I also take some mushroom bricks out of the oven and analyze them for a bunch of new recipes. At night, I head out again and try out my axe on some orb weavers and chop down webs for silk. I craft another spinning wheel and sleep through the night back at base. I start the next day by connecting a new zipline to the anchor at the shed and ride it all the way to Tully's table. With this shortcut to the upper yard, I challenge a roly-poly again and finally manage to outdamage its healing. With its materials in my pocket, I ride the zipline back and run a quick analysis. I still need more materials from the upper yard, so I return there and chop up some lint. Next, I head into the yard's cracks and harvest some pupae there. I also find a mega milk molar here that I missed on my last trip. With that done, I take my loot back to base. Analyzing it unlocks another brain blast and a new tier of recipes to craft. I spin the lint into a new type of rope and craft another drying rack to process the pupae into leather. The next morning, I analyze the processed materials too. It's time to continue my exploration of the upper yard and make a roasting spit to prep some food there. While I'm at it, I get attacked by ladybirds but manage to defeat them, rewarding me with a nice amount of tough gunk. I shoot down some pupae next and chop them up for more hides. I analyze the ladybird materials in the research station near the shed. With that, I'm able to craft the ladybird shield and decide to craft the salt morning star too. I make some upgrades right away, then take my new arsenal back to the roly-polies. I take out a few of them and carry their materials home to craft roly-poly armor and upgrade it as much as I can. I return to the termite nest and proceed through the infested wood. There, I fight off the termites and harvest some splinters from the chopped logs. Back at the tarp, I discover an entrance that leads even deeper into the pile. I stand my ground by fighting the soldiers one by one. Eventually, I run into a terrifying termite king and pick a different path for now. There, I find a bunch of materials. In a different corner, I discover a new milk molar. I clear out a few more termites until my shield breaks. Without a shield, I sneak behind the termite king to snatch a mega milk molar. I leave while picking up a burgle chip on the way. Back at base, I organize my materials, then enter the main lab. I set the surveyor to find ladybirds and analyze the splinters. Then, I hand the new chip over to Burgle. The goal of my next journey is to hunt some ladybirds to repair my shield. Unfortunately, I get unalived by the ladybird, and while trying to retrieve my backpack, the coals sizzle me back to base. Finally, I get the ladybird parts that I need and can finish my repairs. While hunting for a few extra parts, I get surprised by a huge black ox beetle which charges at me. I prepare some food first, then take it on. It keeps charging at me like a bull, but I manage to parry its attacks and win. I enter a cave through a broken pipe and find some raw science and a flooded area. There's a cracked wall there, and I try to blow it up from below, but can't light the fuse underwater. I throw the bomb from a higher up hole, then reach the cave via the flooded tunnel. Not too far away, I find a cootie catcher and a fallen donut, but have to fight some fire ants over it. In a nearby science station, I scan the new materials and reach another brain blast. I finish hunting for ox beetle parts, then leave the upper yard again. Just when I reach the safety of my base again, the termites invade for revenge. After breaking my glue masher, they're satisfied and leave. Finally, I can use the new materials to craft the highest tier hammer. When When the sun rises, I head back to the upper yard and can finally break some toenails for the embiggening cocktail. Then, I bust open the casing of Dr. Tully's Scabby and repair it with Burgle's replacement fuse. I activate the Scabby and it transfers biometric data. Then, it plays a heartbreaking goodbye message recorded by Dr. Tully. He mentions how he'll miss sitting in his favorite chair and admiring his backyard as his own Scabby barely fits his wrist anymore. He then escapes into his lab under the shed, trying to heal the raisoning after shrinking himself one last time. With this new information, I go back to the main lab to analyze my new materials. I suck down some water and head back to the termite pile to collect rust from nails. While I'm there, I enter the nest again and defeat the termite king. I take the new materials to the main lab and reach a brain blast. After fetching some supplies, I search for the lab under the shed. I find the entrance pretty quickly and head inside to find a lot of resources and a crafting recipe for a fridge. There's also one of Dr. Tully's voice logs here. He misses his wife Trudy and his kids, Sarah and Thor. Remembering his son's favorite superhero seems to give him an idea on how to save himself from raisoning though. I make my way through the lab and reach a dark cave with lots of large bugs. Near a research station, I find another voice log mentioning Dr. Tully's experiments with the accumulated raw science to help with his condition. I venture through the crawl space under the shed and find a milk molar. I go grab a dandelion tuft which lets me collect the shiny, allowing me to buy another slot for mutations. I enter a broken pipe and find a mega milk molar. I slowly make my way down until I reach a flooded area with swarms of spiny water fleas. Bro, ow. Holy crap! You, go yourself! Leave me alone! I make my way around the water and reach another ledge covered in cobwebs. From here, I can reach a tunnel, but it's infested with black widowlings. Although they poison me, I fight my way through to discover a fully grown black widow in the distance. Despite my best efforts, the black widow sends me back to the yard. I make my preparations again and spend my mega milk molars to increase the amount of consumables I can carry. I also upgrade my axe and grab some charcoal to make a better canteen. After making some upgrades to my armor, I collect ladybird parts for repairs to my shield. I return to the Black Widow's nest and grab my dropped backpack. The fight is still tough, but I keep healing against the poison damage and eventually manage to unalive the spider. I discover a mega milk molar in the spider den and punch some eggs to find nice amounts of spider silk. I proceed through the tunnels and manage to find another exit that leads to a different part of the undershed lab. A whiteboard drawing depicts Dr. Tully's desperate attempt to reverse the raisoning by injecting himself with raw science. But a nearby voice log explains that all it did was give him migraines. He now moves on to his final idea, which he calls Project Mant. I go deeper into the lab and analyze my materials here to reach the final brain blast and unlock the highest tier recipes. Then I reach a part of the lab that is crawling with spiders and I find some notes on Project Mant. Apparently Dr. Tully tried to build some kind of biorobot using his knowledge from the mind-controlling mushrooms to pilot the Mant. Another report mentions that he used spider glands to give his Mant superhero-like strength. Yet another report mentions the use of the muscle sprouts to strengthen the Mant and even some haze to protect the muscles from decaying over time. The last ingredient mentioned in a report is the condensed science I found in the Black Ant lab. He mentions that condensed science doesn't like heat, but used it anyway to hold the entire construction together. Oh my gosh, look at it! It's the muscle sprout, but it's an arm! I find a tabletop rulebook nearby that might have been his inspiration. In a voice log, he attempts to transfer his mind to his super scientist body, but runs into problems. On the ground, I discover footsteps in green goo that lead right through the wall. I can't follow through the hole, but head deeper down the lab. Finally, I can see the Mant through a window. The doors are blocked, but I can proceed through a hole in the ceiling, which leads me right into the boss room. The Mant attacks me with all that Dr. Tully's science has to offer and eventually unalives me with a big explosion. I decide to go back to prepare a few more healing items at base and grab a milk molar on the way. I upgrade my bow and harvest the muscle sprouts to make smoothies. With food and healing supplies in my pockets, I challenge the Mant for revenge. Thanks to my bow, I have a slight advantage against his ant friend while dodging his attacks and finally manage to bring him down. I can unlock another door and head into a different part of the lab. I reach a room that plays a voice directed at ominous intruders. It's Tully announcing that he will never give the recipe for the embiggening cocktail away. I open the barrier to find Dr. Tully's raisined head in a floating jar. I tell him that Director Schmechter is responsible for shrinking me, then Tully asks for my forgiveness due to what had happened to me. He explains that he quickly lost control over the Mant because the insect kept its instincts. He checks my Scabby and is surprised to see that I haven't been raisined yet despite being in the yard for months. He concludes that children are more resistant to the raisoning, which is why Ominent experimented on found them in the first place. He starts suspecting that Schmechter might hold the secrets to healing the raisoning. I finally learned the secrets of the embiggening cocktail, which needs to have all the nutrients necessary to grow the body to its original size and can be brewed in the coffee maker. Another secret of the process is using grilled science, which is raw science, but cooked. I take some grilled science out of the refrigerator and head out together with Dr. Tully to make the embiggening cocktail. I use the back entrance to leave, then a weird orc fireworker ant attacks me. After defeating it, I break down some toenails and store my supplies back at base. I set the surveyor to ladybird parts and head out again. There, I hunt some ladybirds for materials. Then, I ride a zipline to get to the coffee maker with the embiggening cocktail materials in my bag. I break into the coffee maker by shattering the glass with a bomb, then place the embiggening cell inside. Afterwards, I fill the coffee maker with the ingredients and turn the coffee maker on. Unfortunately, some of the Omnic-controlled ants interfere with the process and break the power lines. I take them out and repair the mixers. Tully suggests building some defense structures to help protect the power lines. Alternatively, he thinks we could find Omnid's base of operations and stop the orc attackers at their source. Unfortunately, Tully has no idea where to find them despite thinking really long and hard, so I initiate the brewing process anyway. After a few moments, the orc ants and even tiger mosquitoes start attacking the mixer modules and try to interrupt the brewing process. It gets pretty clear that defending the 3 nodes without defensive buildings is impossible as an entire insect army rushes in. I walk back to base and stash away my materials. From here, I spot a suspicious looking building across the pond and decide to find a way over. I start the processing of materials to construct another zip line and then end the day. I start walking across the garden wall that's surrounding the pond and build a zipline anchor here. I connect it to my tower, constructing a shortcut to the orc head. The orc head is surrounded by a bunch of tiger mosquitoes, but I deal with them quickly. There are also some ticks crawling around, but I easily handle them. I jump into the moat that surrounds the orc head and try to enter from below, but the door is locked. I was gonna parry that! Why are you sitting there going, ah? Diving deeper also doesn't lead anywhere, and only spiny water fleas can be found. I find some pop caps and break them open to harvest some gunpowder. There are also some wasps flying around the berry bushes, but I keep my distance for now. I carry my pallet through the yard and slowly collect grass planks to build a bridge across the moat. The mosquitoes interrupt me though, and I lure them out so they don't break my bridge. Eventually I make it over, and after extending the bridge one more time, can make the jump into the orc's mouth. I jump down his throat, reaching a mysterious Omnid lab. Luckily, Dr. Tully can help me get inside. He calls Burgle to hack the door password. An orc fire ant immediately attacks me, and I find a bunch of orc receivers there that they use to mind control the insects. I go through the doors, and suddenly Director Schmechter appears on an oversized screen. Schmechter and Tully immediately are at each other's throats, with Schmechter pretty much blaming Tully for everything. While Tully only wanted to shrink objects, Schmechter insisted on figuring out how to shrink people. He thinks he was left with no other choice but to experiment on kids after discovering that they're immune to raisoning. After explaining everything, he decides to unalive us to wipe out all remaining traces of his crimes. He attacks the 2 of us with some sort of floating computer screen and mechanical arms. Eventually, he summons floating balls of lightning that I have to dodge. He decides to show off Project Orc and summons a pair of orc spiders, quickly ending the fight in his favor. During my second attempt, I discover that I can parry Schmechter's lightning balls and deflect them back to him. Eventually, the entire room gets swarmed by Orc Weaver Juniors, leading to another victory for Schmechter. I switch my mutations around and select the Mantsterious Stranger to hopefully help me out. I challenge Schmechter again, and the Mant eventually joins the fight, dealing a nice amount of damage. He keeps appearing every now and then, but sadly I run out of smoothies. I grab a milk muller at the mysterious lab and continue collecting food and healing materials. I sleep through the night, then take all the smoothies and food to another attempt. I manage to get him even lower, but then he decides to add wall lasers to the fight. Eventually the muscle sprouts regrow, and I harvest them to make a good amount of smoothies. During one attempt I get him low, but still can't beat him. I leave Schmechter be for now and decide to make the embiggening cocktail instead. For this, I plan some defensive structures and head to the main lab. Here, I buy a max health upgrade and buy recipes for buildings to defend against the orc swarms. Finally, Burgle and Dr. Tully reunite, and Burgle at least seems pretty happy to see him again. Tully! I explore near the fallen barbecue grill and enter a pack of coals. There's a sword stuck in one of the glowing charcoal pieces, but when I try to pull it out, a bunch of bugs attack. They knock me out, and the sword breaks, proving me unworthy of the flaming sword's secret. After exploring a bit more, I find another hidden lab under the coffee maker. There are a lot of useful supplies here, even some new materials like pine cones. I analyze the new materials in a nearby science station right away. There are even more upgrade materials and a mega milk molar in a pink toy car. I go back to base to duplicate some black ox beetle parts to craft the black ox crossbow. crossbow. I also repair my armor, then head out to start constructions around the coffee maker. By using brick walls, I begin surrounding the mixer modules. With the defensive layer of brick walls complete, I start the coffee brewer. The ants start taking down the walls pretty quickly, but I do my best to keep up with the repairs. Eventually, mosquitoes, fireflies, and ladybugs join the attack, and one of the modules breaks. I head to a nearby science station and upgrade my healing power with milk molars. Then, I head back to base to bake more bricks and take care of my supplies. The next morning, I head back to the upper yard to look for one of the missing burgle chips, which seems to be near a car battery. After getting fried by the electricity, I decide to look for another one. I cross the area around the lawnmower and reach a tree stump. I make my way inside and find a science station with a CCTV report. It seems that Dr. Tully used to have a lab here, but at some point it broke due to the tree trunk collapsing. I explore the tree trunk without finding the entrance, but spot a mega milk molar at least. Eventually, I find a way inside. The entire structure is tilted, but I manage to take some raw science and a milk molar anyway. In a chest, I discover the right elf charm and also grab the burgle chip a bit further in. Then, I leave the stump lab and head back to base. At this point, I change my plans again and decide to defeat Schmechter. I analyze my materials and then end the night. The next morning, I enter the Ominent lab again and return to the boss battle, dealing good damage with my upgraded Salt Morningstar. I craft a tent in front of the Ominent lab to be able to return faster. After a few more attempts, I go back to the sandbox. I grab the Minotaur key from a broken water pipe and enter the maze to open the locked treasure chest. Inside, I find a mega milk molar, a burgle chip, and a bunch of materials. While I'm here, I roll a dice and get a new mutation that increases my crit chance. I hand over the chips to Burgle for new recipes and use the milk molars to increase my resource stack size once more. I buy some new smithing recipes for jewels, upgrades, and building structures. I make some of the new upgrade materials and craft the mint mace, which also deals fresh damage. Next, I also make some upgrades to my roly-poly armor. Then, I return to the stump, and in between the broken wood, I find Thor's pendant. This trinket with the name of Dr. Tully's son gives a nice buff to most of my stats. I upgrade my armor even further and harvest the muscle sprouts for smoothies. I return to the Ominent base once more and try my new equipment against Director Schmechter. With all the upgrades and help from the mysterious stranger, I managed to get back to the laser phase. After all this struggle, I finally managed to beat him and receive a data disk from Ominent with lots of spicy information on it. Back at base, I start preparations to defend the brewing process. For this purpose, I head out to collect some ash. After crushing some charcoal with my hammer, I return to base and bake some ash cement in my oven. After collecting a lot of building materials and processing them at my base, I head back to the coffee maker. I construct a storage chest nearby and get to work. I start by reinforcing the brick walls with a layer of rounded ash cement walls. Next to those, I place some spike traps. I end the night in the nearby lab, then head out to start the cocktail brewing. Despite my attempts to fight them off, the orc bugs tear through the walls pretty quickly. I install further reinforcements with ash cement walls. I keep improving my design until I find a box-shaped wall placement that proves to be really effective. It takes several attempts with running back and forth between fighting and repairing. Although I get blown up by a bombardier beetle in the process, I finally manage to charge the coffee maker. I grab the embiggening cocktail from the coffee pot. Then I take it to the spacer. Dr. Tully sounds more hopeful than ever as we step on the spacer together. He calls Burgle to keep an eye on energy levels for us. He officially recognizes Burgle as regional manager and says his goodbyes for now. I hit the switch on the spacer and watch as the embiggening rays grow me back to my old size. Over the next few months, news of our story spreads about the kidnappings and Ominent's involvement, causing Schmechter to be imprisoned. Dr. Tully finally gets the credit he deserves as the creator of the shrinking technology, which is praised as the invention of the century. Burgle joins our science club, and Tully even helps us pay for college with his scholarship fund. And finally, Tully reunites with his wife and children because what matters more than his work is the time he spends with his family.